Preliminary matter, this HSAB meeting, this is an HSAB meeting. Permit me to confirm that all members of in persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Brooke?
Yes, aye.
Jason? You're there.
Aye.
I see you. Lucy was on the other link, so she should be joining us pretty soon too. Holly, could you maybe send Lucy that email again, just to make sure she gets it? If she's with, anyway. So this is open meeting of the Historic Structures Advisory Board is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public meetings, gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends this requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in the publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, HSAB is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to share your screen. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for the effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each to provide by name to provide comments, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to mute your phone, computer when you're not speaking, and speak clearly to For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair. Taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. And I didn't finish getting the members. Holly, you're the staff member, you're here, correct?
Present. I'm here.
And I'd still like to see Lucy get on. Did you email her, Holly?
Yes, I did.
All right, well, the agenda starts with 218 Cliff Road. So let's go there first.
So the commission asked for view polls, ridge polls, and that's what I believe they provided. I did let them know about your comments about, oh, there's Lucy. Perfect.
Okay.
So I'm not too sure. This might be the original. Here's the view. View is the main conversation.
Is it correct that there are no revisions submitted? It's just the view polls, height polls?
Well, there was comments about revisions and providing additional information on the topo, but there was also a lot of conversation about the additive massing and the style itself. So I'm not sure. Let's see. That's the pool, I believe. I mean, there's a lot in here. Check this one out. All right, so this is the main house. Apologies. View. That's the old studio. Hopefully somebody will take that.
Mhm.
These might be the same thing.
All right, so I looked through the main house application. I did not see any revisions that were submitted. So I'm going to more or less say that our previous comments still stand, and they were basically, I'll repeat them, that we think that this will be visible, that it's in a rural area, which should require less formal massing. The building is too tall and boxy, and it should be lower with better additive massing. So I'm going to go through. Brooke, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I would like to just restate our concern about the second dwelling, just to be on the record, that we hope it finds a nice home, or it can at least get reused somehow on the lot. And otherwise, I agree with what's been said.
Okay. Lucy? You there?
I agree. It's too massive. That's a very high elevation there. And I agree with you, Mickey. It's way too boxy. There's no grace at all. It doesn't fit in with a rolling landscape there.
And Jason?
I wasn't with you guys when you saw it the first time, but I agree with what's been said.
Okay.
It was a quick turnaround, so I'm not surprised that there isn't any revisions. It was pretty much
Yeah.
review.
All right, so I think that covers our comments regarding the main house application. And I think that also more or less covers the next two items on the agenda, which are the second dwelling and the pool and hardscape. So I think it's okay that we can move on to the next agenda item.
So moved.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's 27 North Liberty. I see a bunch of people here for that one. And Angus, I'm gonna have to recuse myself because of my past involvement with this project. And Angus, even though he's not here, did say that he would get on for this application. He's pretty busy at the moment, but I'm going to call him and see if I can get him to join us. So
Mickey, I also cannot sit on it any longer.
Yeah, is Sarah on? Sarah Alger?
Hey, Angus. Hang on one second, Angus. I don't see Sarah here at all.
I donated to their legal fund.
So, and Jason, why are you recusing?
Because Sarah told me I needed to recuse. I was part of the original thing and I was subpoenaed.
Hey, and Lucy, you're questionable. I'm off. Jason is off. We're not going to get a quorum here regardless. But we can, Brooke and Angus, who don't seem to need to recuse, can still provide their comments if they choose to do so. It just won't be an official meeting of the HSAB. So, Angus, can you jump on? Do you want to do that? Yeah, well, I'll put you on speaker. You can't, do you mind doing that first, just 2 minutes, and we'll take your comments first? All right, so sorry, everybody, but Angus is not able to get on the computer, so I'm just going to have him on speaker, and this will just be in terms of official comments. This is really just going to be public comment from Angus as an individual, not from the HSAB. So, Angus, do you have anything you want to say?
I haven't heard any of the comments from anyone, the applicant or people against it. I think whatever I had said in previous meetings stays, and that simply is that the historical significance of the house, its history, not just of the house, but of the people who have been there and so forth. It's about as significant as a house could get on Nantucket. So in that respect, I would want to see everything left intact as much as possible, both with the house and the siding. But with that being said, houses on Nantucket have been moved for as long as houses have existed. So, if it were existing intact and moved, it wouldn't be inconsistent with Nantucket history and architecture. And that's all.
So that's regarding the move, Angus. Do you have any comments regarding the proposed design? Did you have a chance to look at that?
If they've changed from what they were, I have not seen what it is. And if they have, I would need to review it.
Mhm.
But basically, the comment would stand that the least invasive, most sympathetic alterations would be appropriate.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, for the record, these plans that are before you and will be before the HDC on the 8th are dated from February of this past year.
So nothing's
And
changed.
these are the same ones.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Angus. And Brooke, did you want to make a comment?
As far as the design goes, I think that there's really nothing overly offensive about any of the changes. I noticed, for instance, that in the most recent southeast elevation proposed that the ridge line was dropped from the main ridge, which I thought was helpful. I guess these are older drawings, and it's been a while since we've seen them. As far as the building moving on the site, I don't have a problem with that. I do want to see this building, maintained and, and have a strong resemblance to what it is now and what it was. But I think that at least the most recent drawings are fairly sympathetic to what is existing and what has happened to this building in the past. So those are my comments.
Okay. Thanks, Brooke. Okay, just to reiterate, these are not, and because there's no other member of the HSAB that's able to comment on this. So these are just individual comments from Brooke and Angus as individuals. Angus, if you don't want to stay on, I'll hang up. So thanks.
Thanks, Becky.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Now, is there any, even though this isn't quite an official application to the HSAB, does anybody in the public want to make comment regarding this application? Oh, Lucy, sorry. Go ahead, Lucy.
Yes, I submitted to Holly three photographs this morning of the structure that I would like to add to the file to be reviewed by the HDC. So they have a reminder of what the building looks like.
Okay, good, thanks. And other members of the public? Tom, I see your hands up. You're on mute. There you go.
Or unmuted.
Yep.
Right. I don't know if I'm part of the public or I'm a neighbor or an opposer or whatever you want to call it, but I don't think that the neighbors are necessarily opposed to the shoring up of the foundation and the changes that were applied for last January, although I do think it makes the house much, much bigger than it is. And we understand that, old houses, change and they have additions put on it. Windows and doors improvements, chimney improvements, side addition, decks and that kind of a thing. But we are totally against moving the house up and back and over 6.5 feet just to accommodate making more square footage for a developer so he can make more another lot next door. To do something like that to this house, even though it's just a little tiny house and it doesn't even look like much, it still has a tremendous amount of historical integrity. And to do what is proposed here, just to move it over a little bit in order to make more land so it can create another lot, I think you people who we've elected are doing a travesty to this town and the public and the neighborhood if this is allowed. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Any other comments from those that are present?
Mickey, I would like one thing. I would like to add that it's a real shame that we are losing these smaller historic structures in what I call working men's neighborhoods.
Mhm.
It's very sad. Before we know it, we won't have any left.
Right.
Yeah, if I
Okay,
can make a comment, please.
sure, go ahead, Barry.
I mean, I feel like a little bit of a broken record, but this house is deemed historic, and the Department of the Interior has established very specific and compelling guidelines to maintain this historic house and not be moved, because if it's moved, it loses its historic nature, its historic designation. And the 4 grounds to be able to move the house is, number 1, if you need to move it in order to save the building, say it's on the edge of a bluff and ready to fall into the sea, you're entitled to move it. If the building can't be seen by the public, you can move it so that it can be seen. And if the building is in danger to people, and when the structure has been removed from its historic location, when these structures are moved even 1 foot, it's no longer historic. So in the spirit of maintaining historic structures, there doesn't seem to be any cause, any specific cause of any federal guidelines or any normative historic guidelines to move this building even an inch or even a foot. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else?
I just
No?
have a quick comment, Nikki. Can you hear
Sure.
me?
I can, go ahead, Margo.
Can Holly put the drawings back up? I just have a quick thought. Mostly from the south and wanting to see. I'm just looking at the comparison of the existing compared to what's to be put in, and as far as I mean, there's a lot more going on in the proposed for sure. And I'm just curious if, and it's probably more HDC that would weigh in on this, but it seems busy to me with the whole decking situation. And obviously it's a little bit longer than it was, not terribly so, but I'm just curious, and it's good that it's dropped off the ridge of the existing box, the large box. It's higher than it was, obviously, but for me, it's good reason for its use of space. And I'm just curious if there's any thought from your board as far as making that deck off the side, not so, I mean, just, I guess, just as Barry had said, a little bit more, and also, I think it was maybe Angus, as far as what it looks like, as a whole from the side, because that's really as you're coming up the street, that's the side that you see the most. The back end, the east end, looking at the lily pond is quite complex compared to the old, but isn't seen from public.
Right. Thanks, Margo. So the only one left to comment on that probably would be Brooke. So, Brooke, do you have any response to Margo's comments?
No, I mean, no further comment.
Okay.
Mickey, I would like to add one thing. There's no indication of where the AC units are on the plot plan.
Okay. That means they're not applying for them at this time, so hopefully they'll bring that back to us when they do. Unfortunately, because of the conflicts of a lot of the members of the board, this really hasn't become a terribly fruitful meeting, and I apologize to the public that's here for that reason, but I'm not sure what else as a board we can really contribute to this application.
I have a quick question again.
Sure.
Could the application or the comments from the your board from the original be filed with because that was previous to all of this when you originally weighed in.
Well, if I understand what you're saying, Margot, the original HSAB comments from maybe a year or two ago, whenever this was originally brought forward, that's something that if the staff doesn't bring up at the meeting and you can find access to it, a copy of it, you're certainly welcome to reiterate that at the HTC meeting when it comes up in the future.
All right, that's all.
All right. Okay. So if nobody else has anything to contribute to this one, I think we'll move on. Sorry again about the lack of quorum, but that's what we can do. Thank you all for showing up.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
All right, so we're going to move on to what's next. 5 Voyeurs Alley. So, Melanie, I see you're on here. Do you want to, can you come on?
Hi, Mickey. Yes, I'm applying to put 117 square foot shed structure on my property.
Okay. All right. I looked at this earlier and I think it's generally, I don't really have any major concerns with it, but I do have some comments about the application mostly. And my general concern is that, Melanie, I think we need much more accurate drawings than what you're submitting. It's not real clear. I mean, you don't have dimensions on here, especially on the site plan. It almost looks like you're putting it too close to the side yard property line. But and I guess my other comment is that I think a 12 pitch. Since I didn't see pictures of the other houses. Do we have them? Photographs of the house that this is going with?
It's at the bottom. It's like a 6 pitch.
Yeah, so I think a 12 pitch roof on this shed is probably inappropriate, probably too steep for any sheds, let alone one that's not relating to a house of that roof pitch. So my comments in general are we need better drawings and the 12 pitch roof is not appropriate. So I'm going to let the rest of the board comment. Brooke, do you have anything to add?
I agree. I think the roof pitch can be shallower. I realize also, when a homeowner is trying to do this themselves, that sometimes architectural drawings aren't necessarily the most accurate, but I think that it's always helpful to have a little bit of extra detail to help kind of flesh out the idea behind the presentation. I understand what I'm looking at and what will probably be built, but for instance, there's no corner board shown or no casing shown, and it might be on the application. But I think those are just some of the small details that can help make a stronger presentation at the HTC certainly, and it's just helpful for me as well. And yes, the site plan, it looks like as shown, it's probably about 3 feet away from the side yard property line. Probably needs to be 5 feet, I think.
Yeah, it would be cited according to the setbacks.
Right. But that does, that's an important point of accuracy. But they're small things and they sound kind of petty, but they can be very helpful for us when we want to make some thoughtful remarks. But those are just general concerns.
Okay, so it's a quarter scale drawing, but I should just add dimensions to it and then include the actual windows that were referenced in the schedule on the drawings.
Right. If you look
As
at that photo that you included, you
Mhm.
see the photo of the house.
Yes.
All right. You see how there's corner boards there, and there's window casings, and there's fascias and rake boards. All of those little details are very helpful for us because it can help give scale to a building, even something like a shed.
I see.
Also the
Okay.
shingles. Sidewall roof.
Okay. I that was my, I didn't understand those needed to be included in the drawing.
Is that it, Brooke?
That's it.
Great, thanks. Good comments. Lucy?
Yeah, Melanie, what I've represented myself a number of times, and I understand the challenges of a homeowner when you're not a drafts person. It might help also to submit photographs of the close-up details that you have on your house to help the boards understand what you plan to do. And also, I'm not sure what you plan on doing with moving the fence and the pathway. So if on your plot plan, if that could be indicated, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Good point.
I do have one minor remark. I know that Structures Unlimited has been sent back to the drawing board more than once for drawings that were deemed inaccurate. And they were a lot less kind to them than we are being with Melanie. So please, just these are suggestions, but they're strongly encouraged.
Yeah,
Of course, I want to submit an accurate application. I think I had a misunderstanding on what was required.
No worries.
you're close, Melanie. I think we just need a little bit more detail. Another comment I have about the application is on the window schedule, it says Anderson window, white, true divided lights. So Anderson doesn't make true divided lights. So we need to clarify what's proposed in terms of the actual window. This is in the old HD historic district, so we can't have insulated glass windows. So you probably need to pick a different window manufacturer, Melanie.
Okay.
Jason, did you want to comment on this?
No, I agree with what's been said. I have nothing to add.
Okay. All right, so those are our comments, Melanie. They'll go to the HDC and you can attend that meeting and fill in any questions that we might have brought up, or if you can maybe get some better drawings, a little more detail to them prior to the application.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next is, what is next? 1 Howard Street. Ethan. Okay. Hold on now. Okay. Hey, Ethan.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, cool. New computer, so.
You want to make some comments about this?
We're just making this house, putting siding on it and beefier corner boards. It was built in the mid 20s, and then an addition on the back was probably put on in the 90s. And we're putting red cedar roof on it and just kind of updating it. The homeowners own the house next door on Main Street, and they kind of want to combine, right now it's been used as a rental property for years, and they want to make it for their family. So putting shutters on it, just kind of dress it up, because it's a big shingled wall that faces the road.
Is that why this photo's there?
That's their house. That's
Okay.
it. So they want.
I was confused on why that was in there.
Yeah, I know. I didn't put a name on it, but yeah, so it's going to black shutters, white, but the foundation will be natural. Well, you can't really see it because, oh, that's the other thing. They're putting a foundation on it, Right now it's CMU block, and they want to make it have brick veneer.
Are they going to be?
Are they raising the building?
No, it's going to have a new foundation, but the building will be exactly the same height as it is now.
Do you have photos of this house with clapboards, or is this a new?
No, it's a new application. That's the house. That's what it looks like right there.
And that elevation that we're looking at in the photo, that actually faces the side yard. Is that correct?
Yes. So do you see the right there? There's the front door behind the bushes.
Yeah.
Which you can't access because of the bushes. There's a big thorn bush right there in the middle. So they go on the other side.
Okay, thanks, Ethan.
Yep.
Lucy, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I did add, Holly has some photographs of the streetscape. My understanding is that traditionally clapboard only went on the front of the house that faced the street. And it was usually because people couldn't afford the clapboard on the other sides. I realized that this house sits sideways to the street. But I still have a problem with the formality of putting the clapboard on the three sides. I don't understand where the old window wells are going. And as far as the color white on the clapboard, I realize that their house on the corner is white, but I think that really is irrelevant if they're owned by the same people, because these are two separate structures on different lots. If the house is going to be painted clapboard on three sides because of the streetscape, I would recommend that it not be white, but possibly a gray, medium gray, like 103 Main Street. That is 103 Main Street is the new house farther down that was built about 10 years ago. I don't mind the black shutters if it were a darker color. Another thing that I did not like was the meter right next to the side door. I think that that is poorly placed. That can be put around the back side of the house, or at a minimum, it should be boxed in and possibly over to the left corner.
If you scroll up, you'll see the meter's location.
I assume that's already existing. Ethan.
I just moved it over. I can keep it where it is and not move it.
Well, I would turn it around the corner. It doesn't have to be visible from the street. It can be on the back side.
Got it.
But I think that we're doing homeowners a disservice by not recommending hiding this junk. As I put it.
Agreed.
You spend a bazillion bucks and then you have this trash hanging off your house that's visible from the street. But Ethan, I also do appreciate you're very good about locating AC units. And as you know, that's my thing. And the date of the structure, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Lucy. Jason?
I'm not in favor of putting clapboard on this house. I think it's making it much more grandiose than it was intended to be when it was built. I also think it then makes Howard a beginning alley of clapboard, because you've got the house on Main, you've got what's the name?
Homestead.
Thank you, Homestead. And then you got the other house going up the street behind it. I think it's supposed to be kind of an early infill house that kind of faded away. And I think it should stay that way. That's it.
Good, thanks. Brooke, did you want to add some more?
Yeah, I think I'm sort of on the fence. If clapboard was, somewhat acceptable, I would say just only on the south elevation, because that's where the front door is. I think facing the street, I don't know, it's just a little bit too much. And yeah, it's oddly positioned front door, but that's,
Do you think that would work with the HDC, having it just clapboard on the side?
I don't know, because I don't see
Yeah.
it as the side. I see it as the front.
I know.
And there are a few houses around the island where their front door is on the side of the house.
All of Broad Street.
Well, there, yeah, I mean, so I don't think it would be an unusual treatment.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna generally agree with what I think most everybody's saying, and I think that clapboard is probably not really appropriate on this house. I think this is Howard Street is sort of more of an informal street than Main or Broad or many other streets in town, and I think that clapboard, adding to the oddity of the door being on the side, I just don't see clapboard working on this house. It never had it to begin with. And, you know, if the front door faced the street, I'd consider it a little more seriously, but it's just a little bit too odd the way it faces to the side. And then you put clapboard on a gable end without a door on it facing the street. It just doesn't feel good to me. And then you're putting it on essentially the back of the house. So the three sides of clapboard to me is just too much.
Plus say a parallel parking right in front of that street sign.
That's going. That we're taking that out. That's part of the get rid of the.
Good. All right. So anybody have any other comments about this one? Oh, there's window and door changes too.
Yeah.
Can you just say what's going on there, Ethan?
Yeah. So if you scroll the west elevation front of the house, you see right now there's a kitchen in there, and they're taking the kitten. They want proper windows in there instead of that little tiny window in the kitchen. There's two little tiny windows, so we're balancing out the front. See how the front faces? You're right. It looks like the side of the house. They want to balance it out to make it look more like a front of a house.
Got it. And shutters.
Well, and the shutters, yeah, because right now, if you look at it, even if it's just shingles, there's a big wall of shingles. So they were just trying to add shutters to the whole thing.
I don't have any problem with the window changes or the shutters for that matter.
Okay.
Anybody else want to comment on those?
No, but which doors are going to be blue?
It's the front door that's to the right, south elevation.
Okay.
All right. Sounds like we're all more or less okay with the rest of it. It's just the clapboard that seems to be the problem.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. So next is 34 Westchester. Normand Residential. This is looks like a fairly simple one. And I'm gonna, because I did actually talk to Ben about this project. I met him out there, and so I'm gonna recuse myself from this one also, but should be fairly simple. Brooke, do you want to take this on?
Well, I also have a question along those lines. I was actually looking at this house for window estimate, which isn't part of the discussion or the application, and I was wondering if it would be inappropriate for me to remark on this.
So you met with the owner or Ben and talked about possibly?
Yeah, I met with the builder to talk about new windows.
Yeah, I think maybe that might be inappropriate. So,
Okay,
Well, it's not on the application though.
right.
yeah, but he has a financial kind of relationship with this project.
Okay.
Not yet.
Potential though. Good enough. So Lucy or Jason, do you want to, we don't have a quorum on this one now, but do you want to make any comments?
Jason, go ahead. You know this house very well.
Can you go back a bit, because I haven't. Holly.
This is just so previously you all saw a separate application for the actual Richard Gardner house on the back L, which was okay with the preservation restriction that Historic New England holds. They were okay with it. Actually, HDC took HSAB's comments on it, and they did recently pass it. This application is brand new for the existing 1940s-ish garage apartment that's there. I think Pat Butler used to live in this back when
Yes.
she was at MPT. And this is what the application is before you, to remove the existing chimney and roof changes. Replace asphalt with cedar.
And they changing anything about colors or anything like that? I should go. I can't. Let me just.
That's fine. I'm gonna zoom in.
It's just the chimney being removed and a new roof, correct?
Is that it?
That's it.
So
Yep, that's it. Remove chimney, material change.
I'm never a fan of removing a chimney. I know it's a secondary. I don't have an issue with the I don't have an issue with, obviously, with the roof material change. I know it's a garage, but what's the date of it again? You said 1940.
He's got it indicated as 1945. It's not included in the preservation restriction. It's probably included in the Form B somewhere. I didn't see it, but I didn't see an HDC survey. And the NHL data, all I could get was the actual main Richard Gardner house information. I couldn't get it for this, but I think it's 1940s. I think that's
So
about right.
nothing-
I'm not
this-
too sure.
So something of this kind of size doesn't show up on the on any early maps or anything like that.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I'm not a fan of taking out the chimney because I think I'm assuming it was how the utilitarian nature of the building. The chimney was there for that reason, and I kind of think it wouldn't be nice to keep the chimney. So I'm not a fan of removing the chimney.
I have a point of information if you're interested.
Yes.
Right. So if you look at the elevation with the chimney on the left, and there's a door there. That chimney is currently used as an oil burning furnace exhaust. And I think that's why that chimney was built. There's no other reason for it to be there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks, Brooke. So remove the chimney, change the roof.
I think the chimney there sort of breaks up. The building is such a cube. I would keep it.
Yeah, I don't know why they want to remove it. I mean, what's the point?
Okay, I'm just going to comment that two of the members, there's no quorum, but two of the members have concerns about removing the chimney. And no problem with the roof change, I assume.
No,
Okay,
that's more appropriate.
okay, that sounds good. Anything else?
No.
Okay, all right, thanks. Let's go on to Val's last one. Where is this? 20 Brant Point Road.
Right.
Val sent me something. Hold on.
You're pretty convinced it won't be visible?
Yeah, the house was built in '87. This particular structure was done in 2002, I think, by Joe Topham. And there is a roof walk on it, but they've never successfully figured out how to get to it. So Mason had an engineer draw this plan up for what he thought would work structurally, and it's going to be natural to weather. The buildings in there are kind of hidden by these large hedges. And I have a presentation with photos and overhead shots for you to see. He got 3 neighbors to write letters in favor. They had no problem with the proposal. It's a natural to weather sort of staircase / ladder to get up to the roof walk. And he did send me pictures of 2, one on Lincoln Avenue and one in his neighborhood, but I neglected to put those in. I do have them. that I could share with you, and I did send them to Holly, but I don't know if she got them in time.
I got him.
I think this is all about visibility. It doesn't really matter. If
Exactly.
the precedents here, it don't matter much, but Lucy, go ahead.
It is visible. It will be. I took photographs from North B Street and Walsh, and it will be visible. I do have a question. Was this roof walk approved?
Yes, in 2002, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, according to Building with Nantucket in Mind, roof walks, it's interior access. As we know, the HDC does not have any jurisdiction over the interior. So my comment is, well, you know, if they put that roof walk up on the house, that they should have addressed that issue right from the start. This to me is a viewing station. I think it's completely inappropriate. I don't care if it's natural to weather. I think that this starts a bad precedence. And also, it's a secondary structure. How does the HDC historically look on roof walks on the secondary structures? And also, Holly, if you could bring up the photographs that I have of the views from Wall Street and North Beach Street, you can see that it would be visible.
Yeah, I'd like to see those because I went around too and I couldn't quite see this roof.
I just took those day before yesterday, I think. And Holly, I would like those photographs included in the application that goes in front of the HDC, please.
Yeah.
So Lucy, you're saying it's visible from,
It is.
That's not the structure.
The behind. Yes, it is. You can see the half moon.
well, we don't really care if the roof walk is visible. We just care if we can see the
It'll be
stairs.
from the,
And the stairs is sort of on the south side of the building. Is that right, Val? On the south?
Let me look, hold on. It would be the south and the west primarily. Yeah. Definitely on the south and the west.
Okay.
There are examples that you. You guys see that? It's hard. Whenever anybody sends pictures and they're not in a PDF, it's a pain to go between all of them. So
Oh,
But it's
sorry.
also-
having problems cleaning.
I'd also like to point out that those stairs are not necessarily things that we don't know if they were approved or not.
Well, that is true.
Because they're in existence doesn't mean,
I know.
because, sorry, Val,
It's okay.
I agree with Lucy. I don't think it's appropriate, and I think it starts a slippery slope, because then people are gonna, if this one is approved, then it says, oh, well, look at that one got approved, and it's not, that's not how you access a roof walk. It's not appropriate. I'm not for it.
Okay.
Sorry.
You know, I think visibility is obviously, you know, a determinant here. I think that the stairs could be set closer to the roof and stepped into the roof walk a little bit more to make it more discreet. You know, so it's not sticking so proudly from the building itself. I think that would help a lot. And as far as, you know, the slippery slope, I think I can see that sort of both ways. The building that was in the photo that showed the roof walk, or showed the stair going to the roof walk, is in the, you know, it's more or less in the same neighborhood. And there, you know, there was no HDC back then, and it does speak to a certain design feature at that time, and a certain style of building. Now, would I want to see a roof walk on a colonial style structure? No, but something like this, which is decidedly more beachy, more Brant Point-ish. And there have been more than a few cases in the past where there have been stairs. I think it's probably okay, though I would lean on a lack of visibility and strongly encourage the stairs to be set closer to the roof plane and stepped into the roof walk to help them become a little bit more de minimis.
Gotcha.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. I think, Mike, I would add to that and just saying that, I don't care if there are other precedents anywhere on the island. Nobody wants to see stairs to roof walks anywhere. So they're just plain not permitted. But it's really, to me, it just comes down to visibility. And I think that if this is proven to be not visible due to other buildings and pretty thick vegetation around it, then I think it's, probably beyond our review if it's not visible. So, and I do like Brooke's suggestion about trying to set it in closer to the roof.
I do too.
Yeah. So I think that's really, it's going to come down to visibility.
Well,
Anybody else?
thank you.
Thanks, Belle. Anybody else have anything to add to that?
I'd like to go on the record that I'm vehemently opposed to outdoor access to roof walks.
Yep. I agree. If they're visible.
I don't care about the visibility. I just think it's a bad precedent. And yes, maybe in the summer you won't see it because of the huge hedges in that area. That to me makes no difference. I was going by what I read in Building with Nantucket in mind. Thank you.
Yeah, and you never know what the vegetation is going to do. That could all go away at some point. So, all right, I think we got this one. Thanks, Val.
Thank you.
Is that it? That's it.
Looks like it.
Holly, I would like to know what your comments are going to be to the HDC on that, as far as that roof walk.
Lucy, I'm going to submit, like I have done in the past, the comments, and Holly will probably add to them if she wants to. But
I always do.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
All right. Great. Thank you.
My comments so far say check for visibility, build closer to roof so it's more discreet. Now, precedents don't matter, and not appropriate in any case.
Thank you.
So that's that. So I think we're done. A motion to accept the comments. Did we do that?
No.
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, Brooke,
Aye.
Lucy,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
I'm in favor. And a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, Brooke,
Aye.
Lucy,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
I'm in favor. Thank you all. Thanks, Holly.
Thank you, Mr. Rowland.
You.
Happy New Year.
Good to
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year. Good to see you.
Thank you. See ya.
Aye. Wash your hands.